Monogam-ish Podcast contains content intended for mature audiences. The views expressed here are for entertainment purposes only. Please enjoy the show.
So did you maintain your virginity through high school, middle school?
I lost it to a minister's daughter. Her name was Hope. She had a sister named Faith and one named Charity.
Oh my God!
We held off for a long time, but once we got it, we were everywhere.
Yeah.
We were.
Yes.
We were. And we didn't have places to go, so there was the car. There was public parks. There was
somewhere on school property.
Yes. And so we made up for some lost time, and God bless her. She didn't have any shame. Amazing that she grew up in a minister's daughter. No shame at all.
I know. That's usually how those fucking church girls go.
Yep.
Welcome back to Monogam-ish.
Oh, yeah.
We just got done filming a great episode.
Oh, an amazing episode with Mark Casey.
Oh, yeah.
Sex coach.
Sex coach. Not a sex therapist. Sex coach.
Sex coach.
Sex coach and author.
His newest book, Living Your Erotic Potential.
You know what I loved about Mark? Mark is a lifelong learner.
Yes.
And he talks about it in his book. If you want to live up to your erotic potential, you need to be okay with the idea that you're never going to know it all and that you're going to continue to learn. And that's what makes it fun, like learning new things, trying new things with your partner.
Oh, yeah.
That's what makes it fun. I think you guys are going to absolutely love this episode. We talked in great detail about a lot of good
great things.
Stuff.
Great
and
things.
you guys should definitely check out his book. The Audible, it was like 2 hours to get through.
It's deep, but it's not a long read. It's very right to the point.
It is. A lot of good information packed into a little spot.
So definitely check it out. Link in the definitely be in the link below.
And check us out on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit that little bell so that you know when a new episode launches, because we're getting ready to be done with the end of third season.
Yes.
We have a couple more episodes left. So make sure you check us out. And if you want to support us, you know where to go.
Don't forget to go on to our Patreon page.
Oh my God, his couch confessional.
There you go.
It's pretty hot.
There you go.
I'm all about squirting.
There you go.
And if you want to just give us a few bucks here and there, don't forget to reach out to us on our Cash App.
Reach out to us any way you can. If you have questions or you want to be on the show, you can go onto our link tree and you can find us there. Apply to be on the show, and maybe you could be in next season.
Yay!
Otherwise, catch this episode. See you later. Bye, Ishes. Hi, Ishes. I'm Justina.
And I'm Kenji.
And we're Monogam-ish. Welcome to, I believe this is going to be the last episode of season 3. Is that right, Drew?
Two more.
Two more. Okay. 2
more. So getting to the end of season 3. Yes.
Nice.
I'm very excited for this one because we have a professional with us today.
I know.
Another professional.
Another one. He's an author.
Yep.
And not just an author, but a sex coach.
A sex coach.
And he has the most amazing haircut as well.
Mark
Casey. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and thanks for the invitation.
Yeah. Invitation.
Absolutely.
You're the one who reached out to us.
Well, I did, but you invited me back.
Yes.
Right on.
So,
Wonderful.
Mark, you are here today promoting a new book.
Yes.
So tell us, what is the name of your book?
The name of the book is Living Your Erotic Potential, a guide for singles and couples.
Okay, and this has been a long time in the making for you.
Long time in the making. I really started 50 years, a few years ago.
Okay.
And I set it down because there were some things going on in my personal life that needed attention. And then during COVID is when I felt compelled to pick it back up and finish it up.
Oh, with all that extra time.
With that extra time. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wonderful.
So we've had the pleasure of reading listening to some of your book because it's available on Amazon. It's available via audiobook.
Yep.
And it has, I was really happy with how much it encompasses.
Mm-hmm.
It really, you talk about everything from health and food and eating and exercising and your chakras and mental health to the lifestyle and BDSM and everything in between. It really encompasses a lot. So
Well, I'm a sex nerd, so it means that I really get into all of it, and in a deep level. So I did, and this has been like 20 years of work or training in this area. So and
nice.
Longer than that in terms of just flailing around and trying to try things out. So I've got some experience to bring to bear, and I've trained with some really good teachers too, as well.
So what was your inspiration for this? What made you decide I need to put this all down in writing?
I would say that, part of it is, my own journey. I think most of us, many of us anyway, come to what we're most passionate about by some unresolved conflict or some wounding that we have.
Right.
Okay.
And for me, growing up as a child in the Midwest, there's confusion about, what's erotic and what's sacred, and they didn't seem to, fit together. I even as a young kid, I had a lot of erotic energy moving through me, but I noticed that, the teachers and parents and everything around didn't think it was real cool.
No.
Run naked and everything. So I kind of put that away, and when we do that, we develop a little bit of a shadow. And I remember you've talked about shadow work on some of your other episodes.
Aaron Berry's episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, for me, it's part of that process of kind of transforming, some, poison into medicine, really.
Right.
Oh, wonderful.
But what I love about the book, it's not all just personal stories. It's a lot of really good information.
Yes.
There's so much information and not a huge book, but it's packed in very tightly, but a lot of it.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
So when you very first started with the book, were you already a sex coach?
I was. I was doing some coaching, and the other thing I did during COVID was some additional training in this process called somatica, which is very much a body-centered coaching process. So I had been doing it, but through the somatica training, they're out of San Francisco. I'll give a little plug for them. I think they do a wonderful job of training sex and relationship coaches. That really kind of gave me the framework of you've got certain knowledge, but how do you deliver it to somebody? And I would say that the work that I do in this is different from some traditional sex therapy and certainly psychotherapy, in that it's not so much about just talking and diagnosing and the like. It's really experiential. So we were working together, and there was something that you wanted to work with, and let's just pick something. I don't think you have any problem with this at all, but let's say you wanted to be a better flirter.
Okay.
We would actually engage in that flirting process so you could, perfect those skills and then take it to wherever you want. So the thought is that if you can do it with the coach, you can take it out and do it with your significant other or somebody you want to meet or date.
Okay.
So it doesn't just encompass, like sex. It encompasses everything, including that.
Yes. Because, if we think about it, so much of our sex life is outside the bedroom or outside the playroom, depending on your situation. It's the things, it's the context. It's our relationship and our health and all these other things that impact it. So I do take a broad view at that.
Which is missing from porn.
Yes.
Context.
Yes.
Where's the context?
Yes. Yes.
I don't think people watch porn for context.
But they do. As a female, maybe males don't, but as a female, if I'm going to watch porn, I like to know, how did they get there?
Yes.
I just don't want to be in the bedroom and pop up and all of a sudden,
there you go.
He's sticking it in her. I want to know that buildup,
Yes.
that buildup for me of, they met at this bar and they were flirting and they were dancing all night and, and that buildup that comes with it.
Yeah, that sounds more like a movie.
Right.
Yeah, like a movie.
But porn is a movie. It's a short film, and I don't need an hour's worth of that context, but a couple minutes worth of that context would at least be better than just jumping straight into the physical part of it.
I'm totally with you. I want a little bit of buildup. I want to see talking back and forth. I want to know, how they met and then how it, that builds a fire. And I think that's also very true, in our real life relationships, that context. And one of the things we work with in my coaching practice is something we call attunement, is, really attuning into the other person. And it takes a little time to do that, but it pays, great benefits. And while we're speaking of, though, of porn and film, I think I'm seeing better quality coming out all the time. And, do you know the folks from Spark Erotic?
Yes.
Oh, yes,
They were on our show.
absolutely.
Okay. There's a lot of the pictures in my book, they did that. That photo shoot was so fun to do.
Oh, amazing. Right on.
Yep. The
And-
cover and everything.
And they figured out a way to do it because honestly, with porn, the biggest issue is there's not a budget there. You don't, if you have, at this point, you probably have a million different websites out there that you can get free porn on.
Right.
And so I think the percentage is somewhere like 3% of people actually pay for porn.
Oh, yeah.
And so if my work is really creative and I'm doing a really good job like they put into their work, how am I going to get paid for that?
Yes.
And that's the issue that a lot of porn filmmakers are having in these days.
Yes, and the actors how do I get paid for my work? It's
Right.
so I think the quality work like Spark Erotic and on Erica Lust, if you're familiar with her, to me that takes it up to a whole new level. That's art,
Right.
for me.
Right.
Absolutely. So let's back up a little. Were you coming from a monogamous household? I know you said you were kind of told to keep your sexual prowess down when you were younger.
Yes.
So how did you evolve to get to where you are now?
Yeah, let's go over a little bit of your background.
Sure. So I grew up in a suburb of Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri. I grew up with a single mother. My father wasn't in the picture from when I was quite young.
Okay.
I had a sister who was a couple of years older, and my mother worked as a nurse and was very, worked hard to keep a roof over her head and did a great job. And, I kind of got the message, though, mom's got a lot going on. I just need to kind of, take care of things, at least not let her know that, there's anything going on here.
Right.
And because I didn't want to, distress her at all. I didn't have a traditional marriage if there is such a thing anymore, to look to. Even in those days, divorces weren't quite as common. So I was a little bit outside of the norm in that way. I went to Catholic school where the nuns still wore habits. And I remember they would waltz into the boys' restroom and actually look over the urinal to make sure we weren't, doing anything there. Yeah. No.
Wow, very invasive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That shit would not go on nowadays.
No.
At all.
Very invasive.
Wow.
Yeah.
And came into age, feeling a little bit, I had a lot of sexual energy, but I didn't quite know what to do with it. What do we do with this stuff?
Was it a co-ed Catholic school?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
Yes,
so it wasn't an all boys.
It
or
wasn't.
anything. Okay.
Yeah. And then I did later for, middle school and high school, I went to a public school. But even there, there was still, some kind of repression around the whole thing.
Oh, gosh.
And,
Which I think is
was.
completely absent from high schools and middle schools nowadays.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and nowadays it seems like anything goes.
Yeah.
And kids will have multiple partners and they're okay with that. And it's kind of a free for all in the schools
Yes.
nowadays.
Yes.
So you are much more restricted,
Yes.
which isn't always a good thing because sometimes when you're so overly restricted, when you finally get the shackles off,
Then
it's
it's like,
yes.
I'm
game
going
on.
crazy.
Yes. Exactly.
So did you go through your sexual hoe phase after all of that?
The hoe phase came later.
Okay.
It was kind of a delayed hoe phase. That's a technical term.
It is a technical term that I use all the time because I truly believe that at one point or another, if you're able to express yourself sexually to a point that you want, you go through a phase like that, whether it's in high school or college
It
or
doesn't
later
matter.
in life.
It doesn't matter. There's a.
I'm in my hoe phase right now.
Yeah.
This is my hoe phase.
I'm still a slut,
Yes.
so, and I'm proud of it.
Yep.
Yes.
And actually in our work, one of the things we do, the coaching work, is de-shamify things. So, a lot of people carry shame around, what they've done and that sort of thing. And shame, along with guilt and fear, are really the things that shut down not just our eros, our sexuality, but our life force.
Right.
And so much of what I do in coaching, to begin with, is de-shamifying what's gone on.
That's awesome.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine that you'd get more shame than a nun looking over your your urinal.
Yeah, right? Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
I'm just peeing, I promise.
Yes.
How fast do you have to be to get it off? Like, you know what I'm saying? Come on now.
Yeah, right.
Come on, Sister Mary. I'm only here for a couple minutes.
So,
Maybe that's how they got their kicks.
so did you maintain your virginity through high school, middle school?
You know, I lost it to a minister's daughter.
Of course.
She was Lutheran, and if she's seen this, I think her name was Hope. She had a sister named Faith and one named Charity.
Oh, my God.
And let's see, I was 17, and I think she was just a year younger. So we held off for a long time. But once we got it, we were everywhere. We were.
Oh, yes.
We were. And we didn't have places to go. So there was the car. There was public parks. There was
somewhere on school property.
Yes. And so we made up for some lost time. And God bless her, she didn't have any shame. Amazing that she grew up in a minister's daughter. No shame at all.
I know. That's usually how those fucking church girls go.
Yep.
Well, I read a story the other day of a guy that is very strictly Mormon, and he's dating this girl, and they haven't had sex yet. And he was
telling me this.
He was really horny and really wanted it, and so he convinced her to do it. And then as soon as they were done, he was like, "You conned me into sinning," and turned it around on her. Like, she forced him to do it. And she's like, I don't know what to do in this situation because he was the one that wanted it, and I finally just gave in. Yeah. And then he was shaming her. And so that still happens a lot in religion. And unfortunately, and even outside of there.
Right.
But you got lucky with Hope.
I did. Hope. And I hope to see her again someday. She is a beautiful
He wants to get lucky again, Hope.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Hope, if you're watching this. Yeah.
So are you straight?
I would consider myself heteroflexible.
Okay.
And, I but primarily straight, but, I don't really think anybody, I think we're on a continuum, and I don't think anybody's 100% straight or gay or 100% masculine or feminine. And so, but I'm kind of on that end of the continuum that's more straight.
Okay. And would you consider yourself polyamorous?
Yes, I would, and certainly ethically non-monogamous. And there's a little bit of a distinction there for me that doesn't really matter. But yeah, I'm definitely non-monogamous. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And I think I was married though for 16 years, have 2 children.
Okay.
And it was a monogamous marriage, except for the couple of slip-ups at the high school reunion. So,
with not Hope.
And though, when that ended, which was about 20 years ago, that's when I said, yes, I can really explore more.
So you weren't in the lifestyle or hadn't practiced any polyamory or anything prior to that?
Did you guys even talk about anything like this?
We did, and the way we had some conversations about it, and when I was married, and in the abstract was one thing, but when I talked about actually, having someone else, it wasn't going to work. So, and I respected that with her. I don't think it in our situation, it could have worked probably. And so we parted ways, and, like most endings, there's a little bit of, it takes a little while for things to normalize, but, we've got, had a good relationship. I think much better than if we had stayed married. I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it did open the door. So, yeah, while I was married, I had come across the concept of polyamory. I thought, oh, how cool is that? That you can be faithful and with more than one person. And so I was very intrigued and, read the books, Ethical Thought, and, everything that was coming out. I also found my way to the study and practice of Tantra. So I worked with, a lot of teachers who were coming through Boulder, Charles Muir and David Data and others. So I was like a groupie. Every time they'd come through, I'd be signing up. I'd be taking Tantra classes.
Nice.
And so not everybody in the Tantra world, in fact, many are not polyamorous and many are monogamous. So they can come from all over, all over the board. But I did find that there was more openness in that community to at least the idea of non-monogamy, which I liked and resonated with me. And I think some of it, I think some of us are born, I call it, the fuck around gene. I mean, some of us are just not intended to be monogamous.
That is right.
And, if you think about it from an evolutionary standpoint, if you've got the fuck around gene, you're going to spread it around a lot more than the monogamous person who doesn't have it.
Right.
So that's why there's a lot of people who have that. And I think it's actually a good thing, but it's not for everybody. But I do think a lot of it is in our genetic makeup.
Oh, I think a lot of people have the fuck around gene for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I think there's about maybe 50% of them that don't understand how to harness the fuck around gene and use that energy in a positive way versus, just doing what, versus having infidelity in a relationship. And so I think that understanding that you have it, first of all, is one thing, but then understanding how to properly and ethically use that part of yourself, because there's no reason you should shut that down. It doesn't work usually.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what I think is so wonderful about today is that we have so many choices, and there's so many different relationship modalities to pick from. I mean, certainly monogamy, which I have a great respect for, and just openness, and I call free dancing, and poly or committed multiple relationships, but also, just a committed but open relationship. I mean, that can be a very beautiful thing where two people are very committed to one each other.
Right.
And though they do, allow for openness and enjoy that together or separately.
There's not a one size fits all.
No, exactly.
And you can truly pick what relationship style you work, and that can evolve. Just because you're monogamous right now doesn't mean that, together you can't decide in the future that you want to open it, or that you want to become in the lifestyle or be poly, or, switch things up. You can evolve that.
Absolutely.
And I think once you have that main foundation in your relationships, it's easier to have those conversations and explore if, both partners are wanting to do that.
Absolutely.
So you started reading all these books, went to Tantra classes.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And have you had partners within the lifestyle since then?
I have, at different times. And some of them I brought into the lifestyle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And, and I thought that it was so much fun to see somebody who hasn't been there, who comes into it, and they light up, man, this is pretty hot,
Right.
And I remember one woman who I brought into it. She's a little blonde firecracker, only about 5 foot tall. And I took her to her first house party. And, people were standing around talking. It was kind of going on. And finally she said, hey, this is supposed to be a swinger party. What's going on? Why isn't anybody doing anything? And
she called them all out.
Yes, she did. And that got things going. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, my God.
That's why she's the firecracker.
Right.
There you go. There you go.
So how do you like navigating the lifestyle single versus with a partner? Yeah,
it is certainly different. And I think they both have, advantages and disadvantages. I'll say first, as a single man in the lifestyle, how I am currently, and I primarily interact with couples, and I enjoy that very much because I feel like one they're inviting me into their relationship, and I believe that I've seen work really can enhance the relationship even beyond our time together. And I remember when I first started doing this, I was with a couple and they went back home, and the next day we had a great time together, but then they went back home, and the next day I got a text and they said, man, you can't believe it. We went home. We had the best sex we'd ever had, by themselves.
Right.
So it kind of opens the door. It unleashes, all of this erotic energy.
Oh, yeah.
She squirted for the first time. They were going on and on. So,
and that's a common thing.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, whether you guys play together or separately.
Yes.
Because if you play separately, sometimes there's that, I get to my partner is going to come home. I get to hear all the juicy details.
Reclaim her.
And relive it with her and see what she's learned or what he's learned and, let's bring it into our room.
That's right.
And so you have that option. But then if you do it together, it's a whole nother level of you're meeting somebody else and you're there actually experiencing it. You get the voyeurism part of it. You get to just see your partner at different angles and in a different way than if you were the one underneath them.
Give it to them.
Yes.
And so I think both, in both instances, it can enhance the relationship.
I think my next book is going to be about being a single guy in the lifestyle because I have some wonderful experiences there.
And that's not always
that's
easy.
Needed.
No.
Needed.
Yes.
It's very needed because people don't even know how to behave.
That's right.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
One of my couples actually, you can check my validation. She said, he needs to hold a class for single men in the lifestyle because a lot of it is some very basic things like showing up when you said you're going to show up, treating people with respect.
Yep.
And, just very basic things that very often, unfortunately, get overlooked.
It's like the check-in as you keep going.
Exactly.
How's everything going?
Yes.
Are you okay with this?
Exactly.
Or can
Being
we keep
vocal.
doing this? Yes.
Communication.
Yes. That's exactly right. And that's why I go back to the attunement, because just because somebody says yes now, that doesn't mean, you can forget about everything else. You got to be checking in. And that actually enhances the experience for both people.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's in every relationship.
Yes.
I'm a biter, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to go randomly bite him every time. Every time I ask, is it okay if I bite you right now, Poppy? And sometimes the answer is no. And that's why I ask.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't want to cross that boundary and catch him off guard. And, oh, here I am.
Like she has before.
Yes. I made mistakes. So I think in every relationship, consent is everything.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Consent is fucking hot.
Yes, consent
you want
is
me to do
hot.
that to you?
Oh, yeah.
Consent is very hot. And, one of the things in the book I talk about is this wheel of consent, which...
we were joking around about it. The wheel of consent.
The wheel of consent. And the interesting thing, sometimes people think, well, consent means I just, am limited on what I can do. I just need to, focus all my attention on her. But one form of consent is that, I want you to take me. And, that permission is given. And when that is there, it can, and take very often has kind of a negative connotation, like you're taking something from somebody. But, for some people, that's really hot to be taken.
Right.
And if with consent, it could be a very beautiful thing.
Right. I'm a submissive. So take me.
Take me.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Exactly.
Take me here, take me there, take me anywhere.
Yes.
So you started going to parties. You started learning the tantric. What made you want to go into sex and sex coaching?
Yeah. The one is I just wanted, more I thought, gosh, if I could get paid to talk about this stuff, that would be fun. And also, though, I really felt it was part of my own growth, and, in the corporate world, I had been trained as a coach, back 20 or so years ago. Corporate coaching was a really big thing, and the company I was with was really into it. So I was trained as through a very good coaching program to learn about, coaching there. But, just coaching around, organizational things wasn't exciting for me as getting into something like sex.
Oh my gosh, right? The corporate coaching?
Right.
Compared to sex coaching? Come on now.
And though many of the concepts from that are still applicable.
Right.
Getting back to communication, getting to really listening to the other person, and I'm like most people, I'm guilty of it that, generally we're either talking or we're getting ready to talk, and that ability just to quiet, and to listen. And
soak everything in.
Yep.
Yes.
That's awesome.
A lot of people don't know when to shut the fuck up.
So you brought that coaching into the sex coaching, and then you said you've been continuing to evolve that.
Yes.
So what do you have a certain specialty, or do you feel like you work with one particular client the best?
I would, and I work with men, women, couples, and I someday would like to work with a triad. I haven't yet. Okay. But I would say that most of the people who are coming to me are coming for a couple different reasons. It might be that they're in some sort of transition. Maybe they've been in a marriage, they're coming out of it, and they're saying, hey, I want to, get my sexy on, and how do I do that? So that's one of them. Another, and certainly, we work with things like erectile dysfunction and early ejaculation and anorgasmia for men and women. So, we work with all those things, but not in a pathological way, more of just saying, hey, there are a lot of different ways to make love. There are a lot of different ways to orgasm. The peak orgasm is not the only form of orgasm. You can have more of this energetic rolling feeling. And one of my teachers, Amora Charles, is coined the word orgasticness, that we can get into this orgastic state, and it's not the boom, boom, which is wonderful, but it can just keep going.
Yeah, it's like this steady flow, just over and over and over.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I get her to do that sometimes.
Yes.
And there'll be peaks in there.
Absolutely.
But it's a constant, just waves rushing, throughout my body, and he's perfected that.
You got it. You got it. So you're really energetically attuned to her.
Oh
my God! One of the last times we were here and we were doing our thing, she had a out of a body experience.
I did.
Like an astral projection type of shit after she fucking did all that.
It
She was
amazing.
like, came back, I thought she was there, and then she was just like, babe, what the hell happened? I'm like, fuck you mean what the hell happened?
For many of us, sex is as spiritual as it gets. It's kind of like, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why people say, oh, God,
Oh, yeah.
Right. And
I love it.
it starts right away with chemistry.
Yeah.
If you don't have chemistry, like I think one of the things that stuck with me, Erin Berry, she's also a sex coach, and she was on here, and she said, I should have known that I wasn't.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't. I didn't have good chemistry with him because I didn't like his smell. And I was like, oh, how could you be with somebody? Because I like, I love his smell. I love his scent. I love, all parts of him are.
Yes.
Feed off of, we feed off of each other in that way, and we have that good chemistry. And so that's where it starts. If you have that good chemistry, and then you add, a good foundation and communication and time, you can get to the point where you astral project down your body.
Yes.
I try to do that every time.
I find it, and with my clients too, it's an altered state. It's kind of a flow state, but unlike things, that state that can be brought on by, drugs and alcohol, it doesn't have any hangover. In fact, you wake up the next day, you're feeling better. And so I think it's one of the healthiest ways to get into that altered flow state, which we really need, we really desire, because, the term ecstatic or, ecstasy, it's sort of out of the, the regular. You want to have that experience that's, beyond just the day-to-day.
Right. So when you're working with individual people, because I love, you throw some statistics and stuff in your book, and I love that. You had thrown out there that the average lovemaking time is 5.4 minutes. And I'll throw one out there for you, about only 18% of the time do women orgasm. And so when you start looking at all these statistics, it's like, oh my God, I'm up against a wall, a big road ahead of me to be able to be a good sexual partner.
Yes.
When you're working with people, are you, like, let's say a single male comes to you, are you helping them with learning about female genitalia and not just focusing on themselves? Because I think that's the biggest issue that as women, we run into, especially with men, and I'm not saying women aren't guilty of this too, but they're so concerned with their orgasm and them getting off that they completely forget about their partners.
Yes.
And it's a huge problem. I mean, it's a huge problem for women.
And especially because, we're swingers. And so, like that's happened multiple times where it's like, what the fuck? Or
like the chemistry will be there and we'll be having a great night and we're dancing with these people or we're out, partying or whatever with them. And it's this huge buildup. And then we get in the bedroom and it's like,
where did that go?
Right.
Where did that go?
What happened here? congratulations, you came, but I'm still here.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's something. How do you approach that subject?
It's a great question, and so I'll attach it. I would agree that people have different rhythms, and for most, not all, women need a little bit more time,
right?
And so a lot of that is around connection and not just immediately getting genitally focused. I mean, massage and kissing and just breathing together, is just such a beautiful thing to kind of get in this state of attunement. So one is, slowing things down and learning, how to touch. And actually, we work with a lot of different forms of touch, from, soft touches to firmer to kind of plucking. And there's all these different ways to allow a person, to get more comfortable and relax. Certainly words can be powerful, but also sometimes silence can be very powerful. Just to sit, like we were talking before, just to, embrace the silence. But I would say in terms of guys, breaking that habit of, boom, 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 is, part of which, most of that is learned, through masturbating and or self-pleasuring, as I prefer to call it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, when you're just by yourself and that's the focus, that's one thing. But when you're with somebody else, it's something else in terms of how it works. And so one of the things that we work with is slowing things down, even in the self-pleasuring, and to experience what is it like to, pleasure myself without immediately going for an orgasm. And sometimes people find that, wow, when that happens, not only, the erotic energy that normally is building up in the groin and wants to, shoot out, actually can, go throughout the whole body, and your whole body becomes, a love vessel, to give. And so, so slowing it down, and as I talk a lot about the breath, because, we're breathing all the time, but, generally we're not breathing fully. And, we pay a price for that, or it can make us more anxious and we don't sleep as well. But when it comes to lovemaking, that, the breath is so fundamental to that. And so we do work with breathing, and, there's, the most breathing is from the chest up. You can extend it, down into the belly. But when you extend it intentionally all the way down to the pelvic floor, and then on the in-breath to squeeze the PC muscle, that muscle that, controls, that's where you can really begin to, build the energy. And the beautiful thing of it for men who want to extend their ability to make love longer, and I think most men do. Most men want to, be there longer with their partner and make, him or her happy.
Certainly longer than the 33 seconds.
Yes.
That you mentioned in your book. That's crazy.
That's 3 seconds longer than me. No.
Yes. That breathing will slow down the impulse to just want to ejaculate right away.
Because you're like conscious in the moment, and you're just.
I'm a breatharian.
Yes.
So
Post-COVID.
What is the gentleman?
Wim Hof.
Oh,
Post-COVID,
There you
I
go.
found Wim Hof.
There you go.
I do the Wim Hof method too.
Changed my life.
Yep.
I love Wim Hof.
Yep.
I swear by it. I've been making Drew do it because he had long COVID, and
Yeah, that sucked.
Wim Hof will, if you can do it at least once a day, but preferably twice a day, it will change your life. And cold showers.
Yes, he recommends
Which
cold
is part
showers.
of his.
Yes, and I have better luck with the breathing than the cold showers. Other than the cold
Thank
showers
you.
too.
I still take a hot shower. I think
And then,
people fail to remember that I'm still in there for like 15 minutes in a hot shower, but then I do 3 minutes of cold.
That's what he says. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think what Wim is doing is fantastic, and all the viewers, I hope they'll check it out, because on YouTube he's got some little exercises to follow. I do them daily.
Yeah.
Because
yes,
they relax me, and I just calmer. They're just such a beautiful thing.
I think the idea behind it is you're putting, especially with the cold showers, you're putting your body under stress.
Yes.
And so you learn how to control stress. So then when you're in any type of situation, you can be content, you can be okay, and you can handle that stress much easier.
I feel what's crazy is like not a lot of people realize the breathing thing and how conscious it has to be,
Yes.
you know,
Right.
because you're always, I find myself, we're just driving down here today and I find myself just like these really shallow breaths, you know, and I'm like, oh, fuck, what am I doing? You know, and it's,
And sometimes,
and especially here in Colorado, because we're at fucking altitude, you know, so you definitely have to take more in, you know.
Sometimes I'll do the deep breaths and he's like, babe, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing, I'm just breathing.
Yeah, I thought you were saying.
I thought you were saying. What's wrong?
Well, it's beautiful that you can recognize when you're not doing it, because if you don't have that awareness, you know, then you don't even recognize.
I know. And then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So I know you didn't coin the word, but it's the first time I heard it, honestly, and I had to look it up. You talk about clitoracy.
Clitoracy.
Yes.
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Clitoracy.
I know a lot of guys don't know about that.
I know.
Yes.
And-
Which is insane. It goes back to that, you know, self-pleasure, just doing it for them, you know, and
So-
it's like, wow.
Within your coaching, are you kind of teaching them anatomy and going through that?
Absolutely. We're teaching anatomy, and in the process also allowing people to get to know their own anatomy and to respect it, because everybody's is different. And, you know, men and women, if you think about the people you've been with, I mean, very different, you know, in terms of both cocks and pussies there.
Right.
And I think that's one of the beautiful things.
Oh, yes.
Some people get into the idea that there's only one right way to be, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, there's been an explosion of labioplasty surgeries and things like that, because people.
Women are so hard on themselves.
So unfortunate.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And if you look online, there's so many different kinds of vaginas. Like there's not one right type of vagina.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of learning to love what you have.
Yes.
And so how do you teach that to women?
Well, you know, there's a number of good things out there. One of the teachers of mine, she's passed on. Her name was Mookie. She took on something she called the Pussy Project, and she with permission took pictures of all of these different vulvas, you know, posted them in an art form so people could, you know, appreciate, oh yeah, that's me, that's, you know, and so to begin to appreciate their.
God.
And same
I want to do that.
Yes.
Right? Let me take a picture.
I know. I got a camera right here.
It's really hot. And similarly, you know, we guys are all different too, and there's no one right way. And I would say with any form of anatomy, there's a way to, you know, work with it. And there are people who are more naturally compatible, let's face it. But, you know, just because you have a certain anatomy type, you know, doesn't mean that you can't, you know, have a fully great sex life.
With guys, I would just have to go into my DM and print them all out. I already have them.
Right?
Yeah. There you already got them.
I already got them. That would be easy. The penis project is done.
Yes.
Before you even started.
Oh, yeah.
Well, in coaching or teaching the single man lifestyle, I'm going to train. Don't lead with a dick pic. You know, you got to get.
Good God.
So many guys do that.
I think that's a hard on. It's the first thing coming. You're like, fuck it. Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I just got to throw it out there right
now. It's to the point now where it's an automatic block. Like I used to shame them. Like, why the fuck did you do that? Like, you could have said hi first.
Or at least ask permission.
Right.
Would you like to see my? Sometimes they say yes, but sometimes they say no.
Right.
Oh no, it's all. Hey, how's it going, Justina? Want to see something? Bam.
It's not even a hey, how's it going? It's just a bam. It's you got a new friend. Oh, really?
It wasn't like that last guy who's just like, I love your show. I love you. I love it so much.
Right.
This is how much I love
me a
it.
dick pic.
He's showing you how much he loved it.
Oh, that's great. The things that we used to.
Oh God.
Yes, I loved. Where did that term come from? Do we know? Clitoracy?
You know, I think if you Google it, you'll find there's a woman who did coin that, but I don't have it off the top of my head. But she has done a lot of work and some art. For me, one of the important things is to realize that what we see is just the tip of the iceberg. There's this whole, you know, neural network beneath it. And so to understand that, it's connected to much more. It's not like just sitting out there by itself.
Right.
And
It's like a hobo on the corner.
Right. And it's such a beautiful pleasure thing. And I love all the different names it's given, you know.
Right.
In the conservative circles, Satan's doorbell, you know.
I love that. Satan's doorbell. That's hilarious.
Just need to come out
I
to
feel
play.
like
And so yeah, we do work with, and with the, some are hooded, some are not. And so just kind of understanding, and honoring, I would say both men and women honoring each other's genitals is such a beautiful thing, just to, take them in into, this beautiful creation,
Absolutely.
It's so important. I think it honors your partner, but it also honors yourself, because, you realize what a gift I have been given here to be able to connect with this other person. And so certainly we do work around that. And we also, on the interior, there's a lot of fun stuff there, in terms of interior, internal massage. And that's something too that, most people need some training in, because it's not what most guys, learn in high school, to be able to touch a woman on the inside. It's much gentler. And there's places and being able, again, to be attuned, with your partner to, feel, is she, is what's going on, with her? Is she enjoying it, or is she just, kind of waiting? When is this going to be over?
It's a skill that is definitely learned.
Absolutely.
You don't just know it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's definitely, you got to practice at it.
Absolutely.
So not even just for yourself, like personally, prior to my relationship with Kenji, whether I was self-pleasuring or with another partner, I didn't know that I had the ability to ejaculate, female ejaculation.
Or you had more than one orgasm.
Or having multiple orgasms, or having orgasms back to back, or, like riding riding that wave. Or there was a lot of different things that just through playing and practicing together that I learned, I'm able to do that. And so I think that people get stuck in their heads and think, I can only orgasm this one way. And that's all that they focus on is trying to achieve orgasm, whether it's via the clit or, sometimes it's internal stimulation, but a majority of women primarily just go to the clit. And when they're pleasuring, that's what they focus on.
Yes.
And they know that's the easiest way to get the job done.
Yes. And getting the job done, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's more too.
Right.
And like you experienced, wow, there's, ejaculation. There's a lot of different ways to orgasm and different ways to get there. And you also bring up, I think, a really important point that, as we grow and evolve, our lovemaking can get better and better. It's not like we get to a certain age, okay, it's going to, that it can actually, 70s, I've talked to people in their 80s. They're having the best lovemaking of their lives.
I fucking love that. I love it. Love it. Gives me something to look forward to.
They just need to be safer, because that's the higher end of STDs.
Yes.
In like nursing homes, and because I think they just get to a point where they're like, fuck
yeah.
I told you, my grandpa was just rolling through them. Rolling through them. My aunt was like, I went to go pick up your grandpa. He was on a date, came back and dropped her off just to go get somebody else. I'm like, damn, you go. All right, Gramps, I like you. I like your style.
There's not a condom in the place.
Hell no. I don't think it's a condom.
And at least for females, our sex drive, I feel like I thought I had a really high sex drive when I was 18, 19, 20. Now I just hit 40 and I feel like my sex drive is through the roof. I'm like, are you it's COVID times? Well, what are we going to do? Well, we could have sex. It's every sex here and there. It's like and then 3 or 4 times a day. I'm like, let's do this. And he's like, okay, well, hold on. We got to cook dinner and
we have other responsibilities.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we have other reslibilities.
I love
than orgasm.
I love hearing that. I have some good news. Is that generally women don't peak until well into their 50s. So you're still,
I know.
Yeah, she's still on the upward swing.
It's the perfect time for me to pick to have my hoe face.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Why not? Right. Why not?
Right. Oh.
So when you're talking to males and females, do you also broach the emotional part of it, like jealousy and, having clarity in the relationship in terms of communication? Like, do you deal with things like that as well?
Absolutely. And one of the things that we work with a lot is repair. So, when you're in an intimate relationship, it's not a question of when we're going to step on each other's landmines. It's not a question of if, it's when. And so when that happens, there's a tendency for people to go into flight or fight and retreat, or, want to fight it out. But there's, so having the skill to communicate and to calm things down, sometimes it does take, time away from each other, but to, come back together and to, again, getting back to the listening, to be able to listen empathetically and, to go through what happened. And, an important part of the process, let's say, let's take an example, you say, Mark, you always leave the toilet seat up, if I get into the defensive, well, no, I always put it down, it's not going to get any worse. But if I say, I do that, and we can at least validate that you're not crazy. I really am leaving the toilet seat up, and we can begin to move through that. So, that repair process is a big part of it. We also work a lot. A fellow by the name of Stan Tatkin wrote a book called Wired for Love. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And it's very good, though. He talks about attachment styles. So some of us, tend to be, he uses the analogies of islands and waves. So some of us are islands, and, we kind of, are very comfortable being by ourselves. And if there's some, something comes up, we'd like to just internally work it out. The wave really needs more connection, and generally wants to really talk things out and get there. And so realizing, one's attachment style and your partner's attachment style, it doesn't mean a wave and a island can't get along, but realizing that, hey, we've got different attachment styles is very important. And a lot of that, does go back, to our childhood experiences. And similarly, the good news about that is that, back in those, early experiences is also very often when the seeds of our greatest turn on are planted. And I'll give you an example. But let's say, you grew up in a highly critical family. You might later in life, in your sexual turn on, that might be part of it, either to be criticized or put down, or you say, God, I've had enough of that. I want to be, the king or queen, and I'm not going to play that anymore. It can kind of play out in a couple different ways. It's kind of like it's there, and it's generally going to be with us for our lifetime. Right. But we can again turn it into something, positive. It doesn't have to, hold us back.
Wow, that was stuff that like Dr. Rhoda was talking about.
Yeah, with humiliation.
Yes.
And different kinks. I have a hard time with those kinks, only because I love him. Like, why would I want to put him? And not that he has that kink, but it would be hard for me to have a partner and feel comfortable saying, putting him down and saying, even though humiliating things to them. Or,
I know. I respect people too much to, be like, and it's and especially like in a sexual way, that's just like, it's really off-putting for me.
Yeah.
But I, not to kink shame, because I think that there's somebody out there for everybody, and you can find somebody that's comfortable with doing that. And if I were in a dom type position, where not necessarily doing it as like my job, but if I were in a dom position, I might be able to handle it more.
Right.
I'm a submissive, so I'm not gonna. I'm not here to. I'm gonna be saying sweet things and how much I love what you're doing to me.
Yes.
I'm not, but I understand that can come from how we're raised.
Sure.
And I understand that certain experiences that we've had in our life help shape who we are, sexually in the future.
Sure.
In the ways that we were introduced to sex and what we were exposed to and things like that. Actually, was it Dwayne?
Yeah.
He talked about, was it Mad Max?
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser
He
was
got
like
into chains and whips because of Hellraiser.
Right. So it can be something as simple as a movie that you watched, or just something that triggered or resonated with you that you realized, oh, that's getting me hot down there.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes it's surprising. I'm turned on by that. Yeah.
Addams Family,
Yeah. There you go.
I love it. it. I love it. I love it.
I saw the Angelica Houston M's family at the right time, and I was like, oh
wow.
Oh yeah. It's such a good one too, Hugs. Oh God damn it, Wednesday. You stop it.
Not even Wednesday. It was all Morticia.
Oh my God.
Well, we also generally have, different ways that we relate sexually, both to ourselves and our partner. And there's many, but, one researcher, his name is Mosier, came up with what he called the 3 dimensions of sex. And so one dimension is, the partner dimension, that, you're just, when you're making love, your lover is the only one who matters. And you're just really, there with, and that's a beautiful way, and very often people, there are many people who embrace that. There are others who go into more of a script, and I'm not talking about a role play. What I'm talking about is more of a subtle script that maybe we don't even know that we have. I'm the man here, and I'm kind of playing that out, and she's a loving woman, and even without knowing it, you're kind of playing out those scripts in your lovemaking. That's another one. Another one that he talks about is the trance. Now think about this, which happens to be my state. Is that in going into really particularly longer episodes of lovemaking, go into kind of a trance state, which is, what we talked about earlier. It can be very beautiful. But if you have one person going into a trance, the other is really wanting to do partner, connection, it doesn't work, well. So that's, again, why it's so important to kind of understand your partner and to have some ability to, to work with that. And some compassion for your other person. Oh, yeah, she likes going off in the trance. And I don't take it personally, in that way.
I think I probably...
That's what you do.
I definitely do a trance, but I think that there's times that I'm on a partner level.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's always like changing.
Yep.
And, however time it is, between this time, the next time, or whatever.
Yeah, you can kind of, in the same session, you can kind of come in and out of different dimensions.
So have you explored the kink BDSM community?
A little bit. I went to last summer. I went to Thunder in the Mountains.
Okay. I've heard about those, yeah.
And it was in Denver. It blew me away because I hadn't spent that much time in that. And so I didn't really know that much about it. I knew I enjoyed dominant submission play, but things, having to do with pain or, other things I wasn't, so open to. And I realized that, there are a lot of different ways to do things safely. Even there was a gentleman there who gave a class on breath play, which I always thought that's so dangerous. You're crazy to go there.
Right.
But this gentleman instilled such, and he had a woman that he worked with there, so he demonstrated these. There's different types. There's, one where you're actually holding the nose and mouth. There's others, holding the carotid. So there's different ways. And the experiences that she was relating was, she would go out and it was like, come back and it's like, wow, it was a real high for her. And so, I realized that there's a lot I didn't know about that community and those practices, and that those things really can, when they're done properly, and, I would never do that with somebody who didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, you can hurt somebody.
You can really hurt somebody. But, when you've got the safety in place, I think it can be a beautiful thing. And I think where I just draw the line personally is, and that's not judging other people, is that I don't want to do something that's going to, create harm to another person. Okay, if it's a redness on the butt for a few hours, that's one thing. But in terms of cutting or anything else, that's just not my thing.
Real big stuff, that can hurt somebody or scar them or something like that. That's where we're sort of like,
I was nervous
to each their own.
Breath play at first, and then the couple of times that it's happened to me, like they're very vivid. Memories that I'm like, oh yeah, that was really hot. I really liked that a lot. And so I got more comfortable with it over time. But I think that it's having trust in that partner. That's the biggest thing, is knowing that I'm with a partner that's going to put my needs, first, and not do anything to hurt me or not do anything that I haven't previously consented to. And that's a big thing, is knowing knowing your partner. And I love that about the kink community because I feel like they go over every detail.
Yes.
It's like a contract. It's like they know cut and dry. This is okay. This is not. You have hard stops, and it's taken very seriously in that community. However, it can be on the flip side where you can have like a dom submissive relationship where it's not healthy.
Yes.
Where they're domineering in, a controlling, I'm trying to, basically mold you into the person that I want you to be, and you're going to do exactly what I said. And it can be very unhealthy.
Yes.
So I think making sure that you have the right partner and knowing the intent behind it as well.
Yes.
It's always the right partner.
Huge. Yeah.
Always the right partner.
I agree. And, we see that with so many things. I mean, driving a car can be a really good thing, but it can also be very dangerous, depending on, who's controlling things. So, but I so honor that about the kink community that they've really brought, safe words and how to, tune in with your other person, aftercare.
Right.
Which, most people outside the kink community don't know about aftercare, but aftercare is just as important, whether you're into kink or not. So I think that's been a tremendous gift. And, and also the same with the, I think it was Dan Savage, who I enjoy, said that, it was really the gay community that brought us ethical non-monogamy, that, they were very comfortable with it. And, most heteronormative people weren't. And so, it seems like from these communities that are not mainstream, very often they bring these wonderful gifts to everyone.
I agree. Well, it sounds like you've traveled a lot. You've read a lot of books. You've delved into making life or sex coaching your specialty. Like you really are trying to hone in on certain things. What was the training that you said that you just took part in?
Yeah, it's Somatica, the Somatica Institute. They're out of San Francisco. And prior to COVID, I've been wanting to do it for a number of years. Prior to COVID, you had to, go out to San Francisco to do the training. And so, it was a little bit more expense and inconvenience. But with COVID, they did it all online. They did it quite well. And the two women who founded Somatica came from the sexological body work world, who train surrogates.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Which is beautiful work. Have you ever seen the movie Sessions, with Helen Hunt? She's a surrogate who works with men. It's a great movie. I recommend. And so I have a great deal of respect for folks. But what they want to do, instead of training us to be close-off surrogates, to be more close-on surrogates. So we're actually engaging, in running erotic energy with our clients when it's with permission and appropriate. But, that's, and actually touch outside the clothing can be part of that with permission. So that's kind of the history of bringing it into that, taking a modality that can be a little bit more mainstream, because there's a lot of places where, with doing surrogacy work, it's illegal. You get in all kinds of trouble and everything else.
Okay. So what other courses and training have you taken to kind of aid in your sex coaching work?
Sure. I've been involved with a shamanic tradition that most people don't know about, but I'll mention it here. It's a pretty esoteric tradition. It's called Kwadoshka with a Q. I
believe you mentioned that in your book.
I did. And Amara, who gave me one of the reviews on the front, is one of my teachers there. But with that, they're really working with, we talk about the lover's mass. So, if you go to a Kwadoshka workshop, and I'd put a plug into it because I think it's great work, they'll ask you to bring some, light costuming material so you can put on your adventure explorer, you can put on your lusty lover, you can put on your temple priestess or temple priest and play with these different energies. And usually in dance and kind of in a fun way. So, the Kwadoshka is something I've been involved with and had some extraordinary experiences. And, there's a level one, which is more about, just kind of understanding your own sexuality. And we do actually get into, anatomy, which a lot of people really do benefit from. And also and again, around consent. So whenever you're working, you can go there with a partner or, as a single. But if you're partnered with your partner or another single person you're partnered with, there's an agreement, on the front end of, okay, it's okay to touch me here, but not here. And, and I have found that those agreements are respected at a very high level. So that creates a safety that people need to come into it. And then, so it's also just, kept fun. So, and at the level 2, that's more around how you are in your sexuality with another person, because you got to really discover it for yourself before you can, discover it with somebody else. And then the level 3 is really around sex magic, using our sexual energy to manifest. So, you think about the energy that we have, which is powerful enough to create new life, can be powerful to, create so much more.
Oh, yes.
And so using that sexual energy and some rituals to manifest what you want is really that's about, materially, health-wise, sexually. And so I've gained a lot of my, of what I bring to this comes out of that tradition.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
So what's next for you?
Wow. I will tell you, I just came back from Naughty Cruise in the Caribbean.
Ooh,
the same folks who do Naughty Narlands.
Yes.
Bob and Tess, wonderful people. So I did go on that. I staffed the playroom much of the time I was there. And so I think I want to do, what I want to do is go on more of these, like Naughty Narlands and other ones, and actually teach. I'd like to do a class on, like we're talking about here, living your erotic potential.
I think you would be amazing at those places.
Yes.
Serious. I don't know. They're like conventions already.
Yes.
So it's just like, hey, why don't you, while you're here, stop by and see Mark Casey. He'll teach you some shit.
Yes. And there's so much I love about folks in the lifestyle. And I think it's actually brought so much to the world because, it's kind of opened up, being adventurous with our sexuality, in ways that, novelty is, like Esther Perel says, Eros really, comes alive with novelty. We want with newness. At the same time, sometimes I think that people in the lifestyle, want to be able to go deeper, with whether it's a one-time connection or an ongoing thing. They want the depth too. And I think there's a hunger for that in the lifestyle. And I think there's a hunger for most of us in lifestyle would like to, be better lovers. So why not, work with that too?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
So you had a lot of teachers. Do you teach others if somebody was interested in being a life or sex coach? I keep saying life coach, which is almost the same thing.
For me, it's yeah, for us, it's the same.
Yeah.
I haven't I've done a couple of webinars, and I may do a little bit more than that. I think right now my focus is more on working, one-to-one with people and one-to-one with couples. So that's going to be my focus here for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So if they want to find you,
yes,
you'll
please
get the camera. So tell them where they can find you if they want both your sex coach and where they can find your book.
Okay, absolutely. So you could go to my website, youreroticpotential.com. And you'll find a place there to sign up for the newsletter. And there'll also be a link to the audiobook and the ebook. Or you can also go to Amazon or audible.com and put in Living Your Erotic Potential. And you might add, if it doesn't pop up, put Mark Casey, and it should come up. I think I've got a really good narrator, Dan Levy is his name. And so I think the audiobook is my favorite, but, feel free, whatever, works better for you, check them out, and love to have you, then contact me. And my contact information is there on the website. And if you'd like to, I do offer a free initial consultation, so we can do that, and you kind of check out and see if you'd like to work together.
That's awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Mark,
much, sir.
We really appreciate you coming. This has been an awesome conversation. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too.
Thank you so much for coming. If you guys want to see more of Mark, go to our Patreon page where you can check out his sexy couch confessional, which I think is about female ejaculation.
It sure is.
Watch out now.
So, which is one of my favorite.
There you go.
Sign me up.
I know. There you go.
So make sure you go over, head into our Patreon page, become a member, and you can get that exclusive content. Also, make sure you check out his Fafa, which is going to be a great little story coming up here to promote this this episode. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in, Nishes. We'll see you next time. Bye.